Imagine living in a magical world where you could fight with a weapon made from your soul. But you feel like you don't belong because you don't have the same magical abilities as everyone else. Still, no one has ever seen a better swordsman than you. The main character, Ikki Kiragarni, is a student at a school for people who were born with magic. When the story begins, he starts to talk about what it's like to go to school. He says that you are either gifted or not gifted when you are born. Those who are good at it move up in the food chain. People who don't have skills feel like they'll never get there. Even though Ikki is a popular student, the other students still look down on him because he doesn't have the same magic skills as everyone else. Ikki calls up his sword and starts to talk about how people called blazers can make a weapon out of their soul and use it to have a lot of power. The international group's approved blazers are called Magic Knights, and Ikki wants to be one of them one day. After some sword training, he goes back to his dorm, where he sees Stella changing her clothes by accident. She is also a princess of a different country. Before she could say anything, he showed her his six-pack to even things out. Stella gets angry because of what Ikki does. She calls him all kinds of names, but he apologizes right away and says he couldn't stop looking at her because she was so pretty. After he tells her, she calms down and gets back to normal right away. After the school's director told Stella that there isn't another F-rated student in school for Ikki to work with. He's so weak, so she has to live with Ikki instead. Ikki is shocked to find out that his new roommate will be a princess. He asks the headmistress how it's possible for the student with the lowest rank to be paired with the student with the highest rank. This makes Stella even angrier, so she complained to the head teacher about having to share a room with him, since she wants to be the main owner of the room. The headmistress suggested that they fight. The person who wins will own the room, and the person who loses will have to do what the winner says for the rest of their lives. As word gets around the school, the other students start to hear about the 2-on-2 match. So everyone goes to the training arena to watch the student with the lowest rank go up against the student with the highest rank. The headmistress tells them the rules of the duel before they start, and then the match starts. Stella, like Ikki, calls up his sword and gets ready for battle. But when Stella calls up her sword, she lets out a huge tornado of fire called Dragon's Breath, which burns at around 3,000 degrees Celsius. She runs toward him to attack him, but he dodges her first attack. She tells Ikki that he's lucky he avoided the move because if the fire had touched him, he would have been killed. Ikki is still one of the best swordsmen, even though he can't use magic, and Stella is much stronger than him. She starts to feel nervous and can't believe that a student with a low rank can still be so strong. During the fight, he tells Stella that no one ever taught him anything. So, he taught himself by looking at how the best blazers did things. This is called situational analysis, and now he can use their own strategies against them. But Ikki's sword is still not magical, so he couldn't break Stella's fire armor. After seeing how good his swordsman was, she starts to get ready for her next attack and tells him she's going to kill him right away. He didn't give up easily, though. He starts to tell how, even though he doesn't have the talent to be a magical knight, he never gives up because of the vow that makes him who he is. He still thinks that the weakest can beat the strongest, and he starts moving faster than light. He avoids all of Stella's moves and wins the fight with his final attack. All the other students are surprised by this, but after he did this move, he would be so tired that he would fall to the ground, since he can only use that skill once a day. Later, when Stella is still hurt from the double match, the school's head teacher goes to see her. Stella tells the teacher that she had forgotten what it was like to lose a match. So long has passed since she last lost. She asks the teacher to tell her the truth about Ikki and why he was so strong in the fight, but is still an F-rank student. So, she tells her that blazers are ranked by their magical skills, not by how well they fight, use swords, or move. Because of this, they can't really tell how strong Ikki is. So, even though Ikki is known to be great with a sword, he is still the worst student at the school. Stella went to see Ikki while he was still hurting from the match. After they talked, they decided to spend more time together and become friends. They decide to train together the next day, and Stella notices that Ikki is much happier than usual. She asks him why, and he says that it's because his sister's first day of school will be here. He hasn't seen her in a very long time. Later, when they go to class, the new teacher tells them her name is Yuri. She tells everyone about the 7th Star Sword Art Festival, which is coming up. 6 people with the best skills will be chosen to represent the school at this event. During break, a girl ran up to Ikki and told him she was his biggest fan. Stella asks him who he is, and he says he has no idea. But she says her name is Kagami and that she saw him fight the princess in the duel. Stella was upset by this, so she storms off. Ikki ran after Stella quickly, and when he got there, he met Shizuku, his long-lost sister. Before he even had a chance to respond, she kissed him and told him that this is how people from other countries greet their loved ones. Everyone in class is surprised, and Stella is also envious. So she starts arguing with Shizuku about Ikki. Shizuku asks her what their relationship is like, but Stella accidentally told everyone that Ikki is her master and she is his servant after they got into an argument. This made everyone around them think that they were going in the wrong direction. This makes Shizuku pull out her sword, and then they both start to fight. After they are both punished by the school for fighting like this on school grounds. But as soon as they are put in jail, they start to fight again. Then Stella tells her that she doesn't know why she cares so much about her own brother. Shizuku says she could never understand, so Stella asks her about Ikki's past. She tells Stella that Ikki's whole family treated him like he never existed. She then goes to her new dorm, where she meets her new roommate, Alice. Stella went to ask Ikki if his family ever made him feel like he didn't exist after hearing what Shizuku just said about him. He is surprised that she said this. He then tells her that the rest of his family looked down on him and tells her a story from his past. He asks Stella if she knew about Ryama Kirigarni, a legendary samurai who was his grandfather. She says she knows who it is in her reply. He led Japan to victory in the last World War. He told her he is the kind of person he wants to be. He then tells her about his family, who have always made the best blazers in history. But when Ikki was born, they realized he couldn't use magic, unlike the rest of his family, who are all very smart and talented. Because of this, his whole family left him and stopped caring about him. So one day he decided to run away from home. He started walking until he got caught in a snowstorm in the mountains. He had no hope, didn't know what to do, and thought he was going to die. But then his grandfather showed up and saved him. He knew that Ikki couldn't use magic, so instead he taught him how to be a samurai and how to use a sword. Since then, he has promised himself that he will grow up to be as strong as his grandfather. But his family still doesn't recognize how strong he is, and they even put pressure on the school to keep him from graduating. The next day, Ikki and Stella train with swords like the rest of the school to improve their fighting skills, until Shizuku and her new roommate come to meet them. They all decide to go shopping in the mall district, even though they don't really like each other and don't talk much. After that, they all went to a restaurant to eat. Ikki and Alice both went to the bathroom to wash their hands while they were in the restaurant. Then, all of a sudden, a group of terrorists shows up. They hear people in the bathroom and start to attack them. But Alice can use her shadow magic power to make portals that will let them escape. Using his shadow magic, they use teleportation to get to the security office and look at the hidden cameras. They saw that they had Shizuku and Stella, so they went to the front desk to ask for help. She tells them that the police are coming and that the masked men are surrounding the people. After that, a boy tried to hurt one of the men, so the man kicked the boy and started shooting. Stella uses her flame armor skill to save the boy. The bullets were not able to get through. The gang's leader then walks in and says his name is Bisho. He makes fun of Stella, so she fights back and starts to attack him. But he has something called the Judgment's Ring that can take the magic power from a blazer and use it against them. He tells Stella that she has to take her clothes off if she wants to help the hostages. Ikki sees that she starts to do it, and he can't stand what Bisho is making her do. He goes to help her, but Alice stopped him by using a magical power called Shadow Bind. It keeps Ikki from moving at all. He tells Ikki that he needs to trust his sister, who is making a magical barrier right now. We see her finish the barrier and make a wall of water around the people that can't be broken. When the gang of thieves starts shooting at the wall, she tells Ikki to go after them. He uses the Idashira skill, which lets him slow down time, to figure out what's going on and kill the boss. He dodges all of their shots, gets close to the boss, and kills him by taking off his judgment ring. But then, all of a sudden, another terrorist was hiding among the hostages. But before she could do anything, a student used his ability to be invisible to knock her down easily. Kirahara is a blazer from the school that went to the 7-Star Sword Dart Festival last year and competed. In the next qualifying match, he will also play against Ikki. On the first day of the festival, Ikki can be seen watching a recording of Kirahara fight and learning from him. Stella saw him watching the clips and told him that his ability, Area Invisible, lets him hide everything, including his appearance, his sense of smell, and any sounds he makes. Stella is scared, but Ikki tells her that everything will be fine and that he will find a way to beat him. Later, Ikki ran into Alice, who asked him if he knew who Kirahara is. Ikki tells him a story about Kirahara and how his family was close to the school's previous director. Because of this, his own family tried to get Iki kicked out of school because they didn't want to be embarrassed by Iki's bad reputation because he was from the Kirigami family. Kirihara was used to pick on Iki and try to get him to act out so that he would get kicked out of school. But Iki didn't retaliate. The fight between the two starts, and Kirihara, who is very well known, is brought in. But Iki has a lot of fans because he beat Princess Stella, who is the highest rank, in a match. Situational analysis is how Iki fights. But this time, his opponent is a master of magic that works without being seen. Kirihara is Iki's #1 enemy. As soon as the battle starts, the arena turns into a digital forest with trees. At this moment, Kirihara uses his ability to make himself invisible in a certain area and the Hunter Forest skill set to attack Iki. His skill lets him quickly move away from his opponent and catch him off guard with his arrows. But Iki is able to deflect and stop the arrows by figuring out where they are coming from. He runs straight at it to find Kurohara. Kurohara decides to use his more advanced magic skills to make the arrows disappear. This way, Iki won't be able to see them coming before they hit him. After getting hit with a lot of arrows, Iki starts to get angry and upset. At this point, the announcer makes fun of him for being a rank F, and the other students start laughing and shouting that he will never win the 7-star tournament. Stellar does remember that Iki said he would find a way to beat him, but he gets hit by too many arrows and falls down. Everyone laughs and cheers for Kirihara, and they keep saying that Iki is the worst one. Stella yells at the crowd and tells them that he is still as good as his opponent. He also begs Iki not to give up and show everyone what he is really capable of. When he heard her scream to keep going, he thanked her for the push and then tried to remember how fast Kirihara shot and in what order. He figures out how long it will take for them to get to him. Now that he knows this, he can stop the invisible arrows. The announcer tells everyone that he is using a skill called Blade Steel, which lets him watch how other blazers use their powers and use those techniques against them. This time, though, he used a more powerful version of this ability called Perfect Vision. Kirihara's skill is to hunt in the forest, so when Iki became the hunter of the forest, Kirihara started to feel scared and begged Iki not to kill him. Kirihara makes one last attempt to save himself. That is to beg Iki to stop fighting and be friends. At that moment, Iki stops at the last second, but the finishing move he worked up to made a huge explosion. He did, however, stop his blade just as it was about to hit his face. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.